Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We're on our mountain bikes today in Dallas, Texas, not California. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training here at fmtrain.tv, where we really appreciate all the advocates and all the people who come in and broadcast and show great FileMaker tips and tricks. And so today and tomorrow, we got Kyle Williams, who's probably going to show you some unnatural things to do with JSON. If you go to fmtrain.tv, my magical fingers are going to go there real quick. Go to the webpage. You can press the live button. You can see the upcoming broadcast schedule. And so once again, we got Kyle today and tomorrow. Once again, have your if you're on speaker off in the office, just be advised it may not be safe for work. And then next week, I will be around bits and pieces. I'm also at Pause on Air, which is going to be an interesting operation in and of itself. So it's basically like a hippie jam fest for FileMaker developers. And so as a reminder, if you want to support the channel, now some of you don't want to support the channel. I totally understand that. It's an optional thing. And so we optionally request that you use the freedom, you use your wallet, and you support the channel. How do you support the channel? Because we have to pay Kyle, we got to pay Margaret, we got to pay all these people. And how do we do that? Well, you buy our training bundles. You get fmtraining.tv, press the bundles button, and you can check out our on-demand video training. It's really, really good. In fact, I spent 4 or 5 hours yesterday shooting new videos for you. That'll be part of that video training. So if you want to see the latest, greatest animated videos, you need to have that bundle and you keep it renewed on the subscription. So that's it for now. Margaret, are you ready to go?
I am indeed here. Mr. Kyle, are we good?
Kyle's checkboxes and radio buttons. Is this a sample file that we get?
This is a sample file. Yeah, I released a demo.
This is so awesome. All right, good.
Yep. So I added a bunch of stuff in it, and I know we did a little preview the other day, but I've done a lot more since then. All right, so today we're covering advanced checkboxes and radio buttons. Right here in this top section, this is our default ones that Claris gives us. So these are native checkboxes. They give us a couple different kinds of check icons. So we can either do an X or a check icon. And with the checkbox, you can select one. You can see what it does to the list here. How when you add Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, it's not necessarily in any alphabetical order or anything like that. It's in the order of selection. So I'm just going to select Sunday here. So radio button will get rid of everything, and it'll just put that one item down here. So you can see we can add Monday and Tuesday, and it adds to that list. So that's the Claris's native checkboxes and radio buttons. So now we're going to get into the more advanced stuff. So we got our button bar. So these two are button bars. So this one you can just put on any layout. It's a nice little square rectangle with a checkbox in the middle. And you can see it toggles this either as 0 or a 1. Which indicates true or false. So 1 is true, 0 is false. I also with using button bars, you can select the text over here. You can have it highlight, whereas here it's not highlighting the text at all. So that gives you a little bit more to look at.
Real
some
quick,
eye
Kyle,
candy.
before I pop into, he says, can we zoom in on like your FileMaker file?
Yeah,
People are saying that they have a hard time seeing, I think.
Let's make that a little bit bigger.
Yes. Is that better, Oregon? Dean, I think. I think it looks better. Okay, let me know if we need more.
Yeah, it's definitely bigger.
If we need more space. Okay, cool. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue
Okay.
on. Kyle, how is Kyle
All right.
50% of the screen?
So yeah, another thing that's really nice about using button bars is you can make this icon any kind of icon you want. So I just created these icons here, which kind of resemble these. It's just a little bit smaller. And also you can customize your radio buttons. So you can make these icons however you want. Also I added this from, so this is basically your checkboxes, but in a nice little button bar format. And you can add this to any kind of schedule software. Like if somebody's trying to schedule an appointment to see you, you can add this little button bar in there so they can select which dates they want to see you, or you can do a radio button style. So this works just like a radio button over here. So that way it'll replace whatever's there with the day that you select. So again, you can select multiple days. This works just like the checkboxes up here. And also here, I'm demonstrating that you can do this with variables as well. So if I go up over here, you can see the checkbox now has a 1, and I can toggle that on and off. Over here, it's going to use checkbox 2, so it's a different variable, and you can have it call a script. So that's, again, it's a little bit more difficult to do with regular checkbox. You can do a trigger event to make that happen, but here I'm using the button bar, and all of the objects down here, these all call the exact same script. So it's just a slightly different parameter for each of the checkboxes. So if I scroll down here, we can also do required fields. So if I try to select this checkbox, it's going to say required field 01 is required field. So I can see here on the layout, it says required field 01. So this wants a value. And now if I try it again, it's going to say the required field 02 is a required field. So we're just going to say, okay, going to come down here and we're going to populate it. And then if I try it again, it's going to go ahead and populate it. So it's going to go ahead and activate this checkbox. So that's a really cool feature. It's a little bit more difficult to do with the native ones, because you got to set up a script trigger and try to call scripts. It's a little bit more of a challenge. Whereas this, you put the JSON parameter directly in the checkbox, and you can tell it to do whatever you want. You can add required fields, you can add scripts, you can do everything all in one JSON parameter. So before I go any further, let's go ahead and look at what that parameter is. So we'll start with this one. Just toggles a field. So that, and right here we start using this script called toggle CBX radio button. So if I go into this, it's got a sample parameter right here. So I don't know if there's any questions yet.
No, I don't see
No
any
questions yet? Okay.
No.
So here I got several custom functions that the script depends on. So I listed the dependencies here. So it uses this JSON get elements as variables. So it's going to basically parse out all your JSON into variables based on the key values. So this key value here will become a variable. This will become a variable. And the script below uses all these variables. And then here you'd find the value for that key name. So that custom function turns out all these keys into variables. Set var by name, that's set variable by name. So that's used if you want to toggle variable. So down here, if it's a variable, it's going to use set var by name to set the variable dynamically. So that way you can change the variable name to whatever you want. So like right here, the field name could be a field. So here I'm using the field name. Or optionally, you can use a variable. So yes, you can use a global variable in place of the field name. So really cool. So there's a bunch of parameters in here. There's the object name, and this controls the refresh of that button bar. So a lot of these I'm using button bars, and we want to refresh just that button bar. So it's not refreshing the entire window and every object in the window. So this basically is the name of the button bar that you're toggling, and that'll activate a refresh of it. The list, this is if you're, so right here we have this list of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's our list. And it's going to evaluate the field name that you put here. So again, this is our field name. So it's either going to evaluate the field name or a variable if you're using a variable. So that's going to be your list. And I put a little note here on each of these explaining what they are, how to use them. So for this one example, we're giving it a value of Monday, or MON. And basically it's going to toggle this value from this list. So if it's a radio button, this will give it the radio button behavior. Instead of just a checkbox, it's going to turn it into a radio button. Add or remove auto. So there's a custom function down below that basically it's going to look at the list, this list here, and it's going to either add a value to it, it's going to remove a value if one exists, or it can toggle. So there's 3 different parameters. I listed them right there, different ways you can use that. Commit records. Sometimes you don't want it to commit a record. You want to be able to use Control-Z on your layout to be able to undo the action. Commit records will commit the record, which disables that Control-Z. So another custom function I have here is editable only by manager. So I have a custom function called isManager, and basically this will give you the ability to prevent anybody who's not a manager from checking the button or radio button. And then we have an array of required fields. So this is where I was using the required fields. It's not letting me move stuff around. So yeah, I had the one checkbox that used required fields, and here you can see required fields, and you can do an array. So this will allow you to do as many required fields as you need. So if there's 6 or 7 or even 10, doesn't matter. You can adjust all the required fields here. Oftentimes, in the message, you don't want it to say the actual field name, because otherwise you're looking at is required field instead of just required field. So here you can change what it says. So this is a descriptor for that field. So on the layout, it's going to say what the checkbox is right beside it. Let me get out of this for just a moment so I can actually move stuff around. So get back into this. All right. So required fields. It's hard to fit everything on the screen. Here we go. Okay, so required field 01. This is oftentimes what you want the user to see in the message, so that way they know what's required. So the field name could be something really long, or it could say CBX, whatever. You don't want the user to see that. You want them to see the label. So oftentimes I'll put whatever's on the label right here, so that way they know what needs to be populated before they can use that button. And then here you can do a whole array of different scripts. I use a script ID instead of the script name, in case the script name ever changes. This will change with it. So I have a custom function called getID, and you can figure out what the ID is simply by putting the name of the script in there. So if I were to put the current script name right here and run it in the data viewer, it'll give me the ID. And then I can plug that ID right here, and it's going to be looking for the number. And then your script parameter, you can put whatever you want for your parameter right there. So that's how all of those work. So say the script one up here, I believe it's this one that has the script. Just kind of demonstrate how that works. So here I have the script number 41. So it's looking for the script ID number 41, which currently is called show dialog, and then it's passing this parameter. So yeah, also works with scripts. When I select this, right there you can see it passes, it opened up the script and it passed that parameter. Let's see, looking at questions here.
Yes, we do have one on Twitch, actually. There's one from Ruben. I'm going to grab the Twitch one first real quick.
Okay.
Is there any simple way of making a select all button to select the checkboxes of all the days of the week in one click?
Well, yeah, you can do a checkbox and have it populate all of this. So let me just try that here. We'll do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we have this list here. And then if I go, just going to copy and paste this. We'll bring it down here and we'll change this to select all and copy paste. So now I can see it says select all. I can widen that a little bit so I can know that all the text is going to show. Okay, so because I just copied that to the clipboard, I need to reselect here. So copy. Okay, so here, so we have our list. So basically, this is our whole list here. And I'm going to remove that and just make this a little bit clearer what I'm doing. Copy. So this is kind of tedious, but it should work. Okay. And there's the end of our list. So we have our list. All right, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, so now it's going to toggle the list as our value. And then we'll go ahead and do that. It's not a radio button, not Boolean. Commit record, sure. And that should be it. Oh, right. So I'm just going to throw an empty value at the top there. Okay. I don't know if I've tried this with multiple items. So but basically it's this custom function might only work with one item at a time currently, but you can certainly modify the script in order to be able to do a whole list. I didn't think of trying that ahead of time. So, but yeah, I'm sure there's a way to do it. Okay, so
The pain and agony of having the live
yeah,
through all of your stuff.
trying to troubleshoot live is never easy. Okay, so we have our list, and basically we're going to use add remove item. See, the problem is this is add remove item singular, and I think that's where my problem is. So if I say the list is empty and my value is right there, so, and I'm just gonna take this down here, see what's going on with this formula. Yeah, I don't think I've tried it with multiple values. It looks like it did it. Okay, so yeah, that should work. Okay, so try to figure out what's going on here. Also, I need to be able to have this on both. So if I go down here and I say copy, then I just copy this over to the other button. Then we'll step through this to see what's going on. So let's get the data viewer going so that we can see what the values are. So currently it's saying the list is 0. That's kind of weird. It should be empty. Okay, so the list, get as Boolean. Oh, it's got the wrong field. That's what the problem is. It's looking at is Boolean instead of the list on here.
It's always the simple thing. You're like, why is it not working?
So sometimes you gotta, that's what the debuggers are for. It's got to be text 01. So it's mapped to the wrong field. You got to make sure it's mapped to the correct field. So right here, we're going to change that to text 01. And I'm just going to copy that. We'll go to our other script here. Oh, that's the same button. The other button. Okay, so there we go. And let's see if that works now.
Yes, it does.
There we go. So this checkbox is,
it selects everything. That makes sense.
Yeah, so the checkbox hide formula needs to be adjusted. So right now it's looking at the wrong field. So if we change that to text 01 and we go down here change that as well. Okay, because it's looking for, is it empty or not? Not, so I think this needs to be is empty. And this one, I'm just going to open this up, not is empty. Hopefully I did that the right way. There we go. Now we got the checkbox and a select all, and it's selecting everything. So all the days of the week in one. And then you can deselect the ones you don't want. So, yeah, let's do that.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Seriously, no, I
On
know,
the fly.
like,
There we go.
live coding. Okay, so we do have another question because the questions never end. It's from
Sure.
Ruben specifically, very specific. Field name equals get field name parentheses globals to is is boolean. If it's boolean, how can you get the field name?
Okay, so it's not looking at the value, it's looking at the field. So when I go over here and I'm looking at the parameter, he's looking at field name equals get field name and then that field. So let's see if I understand this. Get field name equals, if it's Boolean, how can you get the field name? So yeah, basically it's looking at the field. So that's the field, and then we're getting the field name from the field reference, and that gives us our field name. And then we're able to use that field name here, and then we can pass that field name directly to the script, and the script will evaluate the field name and get the data that it needs from it in order to be able to modify that field. Does that make sense?
Ruben, does that answer your question? I'm sure he'll tell us in a little bit. Because I think he watches on YouTube, which means he's on like a minute delay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so you can now return back to what we were doing, which I hope you remember because I don't exactly.
Right. So now we're getting into web viewers because when we showed this before, everybody was asking about checkboxes and web viewers. So right from here down, we're looking at some different options for web viewers. So this is basically going to use the same list here. And basically this is our radio buttons. And over here we have our checkboxes. You'll notice with web viewers, it behaves a little bit differently because it's using JavaScript to populate everything to be able to update this. So this is two different web viewers right here. If I go into layout mode, you'll see I have one web viewer here, one web viewer here. So they're configured slightly differently. So this one's configured to be a checkbox. And the way the JavaScript evaluates this list is it's looking at this and it's going, this is checked, so it checks it. And it unchecks everything else. And then it looks at the second line item and it checks it and it deselects the top one and the bottom one. Then it comes down here to the third one and it's also checked. So it deselects that one, and selects the last one. So that's why it behaves a little bit differently in JavaScript. So here you can see it's not checking that one, but it's checking this one. It's not checking that one, and then it's complete, and it's loaded the web viewer. So it's a little bit different in JavaScript because it's looking at the last selected value until it doesn't have anything else selected below it. Ruben just responded, says, no problem, got it. Awesome. All right, so now we're getting into our web viewer part. So with web viewers, you can scroll up and down, which is kind of nice. I can, again, select multiple things. And just like the above web viewer, it's checking the first item, and then it's checking the second item, deselecting the first. Just that's how radio buttons work. So this one, it works just the same as everything else, where I can select one item, and it's going to replace the field. Or here, it's going to amend the field. So it's going to add to the field, just like the FileMaker checkboxes. It's not in any particular order. It's in the order which you select. So here, maybe we don't want to deal with having to scroll down to see everything because we just didn't have enough room in our layout I have this next section here. This actually, again, is all HTML. It's a web viewer. I added this little section around it, which is kind of nice. So this reason why I made it really narrow. So that way I can drag it out and you can see how everything shifts. And so it populates across, whereas these ones didn't. So I was trying to figure out a way to be able to get it to shift automatically as you scroll, or as you widen and narrow the screen. So I don't know if anybody out there has any suggestions on how we can keep this as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but that would be really cool to be able to fix that. I didn't have a lot of time to work on this, so I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but that would be really cool to keep that in the same order, because right now it's going Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, horizontally each row. So there might be a trick using a table or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's really cool. So after that, I wanted to add a to-do list. So this also uses checkboxes and a button bar. So that way you can check things off. It's color coded so you can see the status. So if the priority is none, then it's just gray. If it's low, then I put green in there. Medium is yellow and high is red. So again, you can change this to whatever you want and it'll color code. Also, I like that it crosses it out and grays it. So that's conditional formatting that does that. So if you get bored with the other checkbox icons, I added a few more checkbox icons here. So some different options where you can use that with your button bars. Also with the dark background, if you want to do dark mode, you can do that. So below that, I did a section on toggle switches. So Claire's does this toggle switch here. It's an add-on, so I just dropped the add-on in here, so that way we can compare their toggle switch. Seed Code did this one, which uses a slider control with two buttons, one button on each of the sliders, and it gives it that animation, which is kind of cool. This one is using a FileMaker button bar. So just like these up here using button bars, this is also a button bar. And these use a slightly different technique. So you can see it has a nice animation to it. And this is a FileMaker button. And I can hold it in the middle. It's actually 3 icons. So I'll show you how that works here. So a really cool technique here. This doesn't use a slider control. It's just the button. It's actually 2 buttons, one on top of the other. So in this button, if I go into here, it's got the graphic, so it's driven by graphics. If I'm doing pressed, you can see there it has the middle graphic where it's centering over the 2 buttons. So that's what gives it that slider animation. Then when I go to the other one here, it's doing the same thing. So there it's, let's see, pressed, yeah. So there it shows the in-between button. So both buttons do the same thing, and that's what gives it, each of these that you know, this one also does the same thing. So if I do that, you can see the 2 buttons. So there's a little hide icon in the corner. That's what controls these and gives it the animation. So kind of a different technique. So I just wanted to show each of those. And you can do this with any graphics you create. You can create the on, off, and then an in between. So you can make these look like whatever you want. And these are native in FileMaker. So then we're getting back into web viewers. So these 3 here are all web viewer. These all do the same thing. So that does the little toggle, and then I added a couple custom functions into the JavaScript or the CSS to try to make it smaller. And this gives it our animation as well, which is really cool. So as I was putting this together, you can see here's all the code. It's got all the CSS styles here that operate the transitions. So there's the transition that does the animation. See, so there's the body, the label, checkbox. So you can play around with this. You can make it whatever. You can customize it however you want. With this, to make it really small, I did the exact same stuff, but I kind of pulled some stuff out into different parameters. So I can make this a red button just by typing red. I can control what script it's running using the ID. I can map it to any field. I also added a few custom functions, sorry. So there's a scale web viewer. I'm making it half the size. So this is a percentage of the size I want. So you can make that 25%, 75%, or 100, or even 150 if you wanted. So these last two, to hide the scroll bars and prevent scrolling. So if I were to disable these, it's kind of cool doing this in FileMaker because you can create custom functions. So there I made it red. So there's the scroll bars and the scrolling. So if I didn't want this to happen, I can use those custom functions, which are right here. So we can re-enable those, and it'll just put that CSS back into the code. Now, when I go back here, I can't scroll, I can't do anything, but I can toggle it. Everything works, and again, you can make this color whatever you want. You can make the size whatever you want. So if I go into here, and maybe I want this to be even smaller, I can change this to 25%. Back in here, now you can see I got a really tiny check
That's
slider.
really cool.
So, yeah, you can put it on any layout. You can customize it to any size you want. You can map it to any field you want. So you can see it's toggling that. You can see everything else that's toggled on the same field also changed. So this is changing. And the web viewer updates as I check it up here even. So it's showing you the actual information. So this is Claris's toggle. You can see it toggles it. But when I toggle here, it's not updating at all. So that I didn't like about their slider. So it's one of the benefits to doing it this way. Also, this one doesn't change either because it requires a script to be able to run the slider animation. So you really want it to be able to show the actual data to be representative of the current value. So if I change this to 0, this should change, this should change. Everything based on that should change. But since these are dependent on scripts to be able to toggle them, they don't change. So this gives us a new alternative. We can use web viewer to do it, and it shows real-time data. So even if I manually change it, it's going to toggle. So, oh, and I didn't pay attention to this here. Sorry. Let me fix that anchor. So we're just going to take that off so we don't have to deal with that. So these are all web viewer widgets. I wanted to add these in here. So this is a completely customizable list. You can see it's using a value list here from FileMaker. And then I've added some separators in here and just did some custom lists here. So I'll show you how that works. Oh, this I use a script for. So I have an on-enter layout script. And this controls the drop down and pop up. I believe that's a pop up. So if I go into the URL, here you can see the formula. So in order to get that to work, I basically did the list function here. I threw in a couple separators, just like you'd use in a FileMaker value list. So you just add a little dash into your list. And then here I can use actual items from the value list using the value list ID. You can use the value list name as well, which I'm also going to demonstrate here in a moment. And that way you get all of this in one list. You can rearrange this however you want. So if I wanted all of this to come first, I can just cut that out. I can come up here and paste that in. I can do a little separator right here. And then remove the separator at the bottom because we don't need that there anymore. And then say, okay, okay. And then I'm just going to save that, and we'll run it. And now when I go in here, you can see all the days of the week pop up first, and I have my separator and my list down below. So this is really hard to do inside of FileMaker, but this is just a little tiny web viewer the size of this field. So basically I can replace a field with a web viewer and to be able to make the list whatever I want on the fly. I can throw a calculation in there to just make a random list, and it'll show the list however I want, with the items I want, in the order I want. So it just makes doing value lists very simple. It's almost too easy. So, and then if I select one, you can see it updates the field. This is the FileMaker field. And I cannot select the separators. It doesn't highlight the separators. So,
we do have some questions from Ruben, a little bit in depth. It's like a multi-question. Okay, so he wants to know what's the best option for generic CSS for a web viewer button? Like when I want to change the color of all buttons, would you use global field or global variable or something else?
So I would do that inside of the CSS itself. So we'll get into that over here because I did this checkbox here. And so we'll get into the doing CSS for checkbox. But if you have several checkboxes, you're going to want to edit the CSS itself. So if I go in here, so basically you're going to want to color it up here in this CSS. So we have our style tag. This is our end style. All of this is our CSS from there to there. So this controls all of our objects universally. You can style things, like if I come down here, if I want to style this one control here, I can just I can type in style equals, and then color, and then do a colon, and then red. So you can style things individually outside of that, all that CSS, just by doing something like this. Not sure how that's going to turn out. That messed it all up. But yeah, you can style things on the fly inside of the body of the HTML just by doing something like this. You can adjust the width here. You can adjust the height, whatever you want. So I definitely recommend learning HTML and CSS and how all this works. And then there's a script right here. So it's the script. This button right here, it says on click. So that's the action that we're doing with the button. And then it's calling this function. So it's calling the function name down here, get combo. And this represents this input. So this whole input tag, the word this references that tag. And so by putting that right here, it's saying this object, and now I have the object right here. I can then see if the object is checked. I can do dot value, I can do dot ID, I can get different elements of that object right here. And I can pass that into FileMaker. You can see I formatted this so that each line is one value inside of JSON, a JSON object. So we're building JSON right here. So we got the value that is Boolean. I put a pause in here so that way the animation could process. And then is radio button, the field name, what the field name is, and all of that's customizable up here. So the field name. So that's we're setting the field up there, and then we're getting the field name here to pass into our parameter. So this just creates a JSON object right there. And then we have our the option with, so we're performing a script with an option. We're using option number 5. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 different options. So 5 is the one I like to use. So it works pretty much every time. So that should fix it. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we got rid of that big black, or the big block here. So here I kind of like as well, because I can do one and it figures out the list as I'm typing. If I do two, I can so kind of it figures out what you're trying to type from the list. I thought I could press tab, but I can select the item from that list. So here, I also added a date and a color selector in here. So this, again, these are all web viewers. This is operating outside of the web viewer's edges, the edges of the web viewer. So here I can select the date. And then here I can do the color. I can use this. I can come up here and select the color up here. And it puts that hex value right here. I can also adjust the hex value here. I can say AACTC, which I think is a green. Oh, purple. So, yeah, I don't know all the colors here, but anything number 0 all the way up to E or F. So if you do all Fs, that's going to be white. So 6 colors, 6 Fs here is going to be white. If I do 6 zeros, it's going to be black because that's the absence of color. So this is just about learning what hex values are and how it functions. So anytime when it's all the same digit or all the same letter, it's going to use a grayscale. So if I do A, they're all the same. So that's going to be a gray color. So it's kind of fun just learning how hex codes work. Thanks, Ruben. Yeah, he was commenting about the separators, making the separators real easy. So right here, yeah. So you can put as many separators as you want. You can do as many different value lists as you want. You can completely customize the order. It just makes it real easy. It's just a little web viewer. You can put in any layout anywhere. You can replace the field. You can adjust the CSS so it looks exactly like any other field in your database. So it'll blend right in. So if I go to the script, that's the object. So this is a web viewer name, in case you're wondering. So you're basically telling which web viewer to load, and then here's all the code behind it. So yeah, that's what he was talking about, where you can put the separator wherever you want. I can remove the separator entirely. I can do an execute SQL call to get a list to add to this list. Yeah, it's just unlimited, the potential of that. So here you can see the different options. This is disabled. This is our separator right here. So if you're doing the separator with 1 dash, it's going to enter this code in. Otherwise, it's going to enter this code in, which will give it the value. And you can control what's selected, what's not selected. And then there's our same function that I put in all the other scripts. So yeah, I think that covers everything. Let's go ahead and run this. And now you'll see that it has one separator. So we have our value list, our separator, and our other list that we just created on the fly. And we removed the separator between the 3 and the 4. So really cool. I don't know if there's any other questions.
I don't currently see anything. WJ from the Twin Cities says he's loving what you were sharing today. Twitch has been pretty quiet. We got any more questions, people, since we have them? Hello, you've reached the home of unrecognized.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lava.
No, seriously, this has been very cool, Kyle. I have asked less questions because it is an advanced discussion, so I have accepted that this is very cool and very shiny, and I personally couldn't set it up. But thank you for explaining. It's been a blast to watch what you can actually do when you put your mind to it, with all the variety of checkboxes and radio buttons and everything else. Yeah, Scott agrees with me that this is very cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you can also do tooltips. I forgot I didn't really get to this last one here. So yeah, this is also a web viewer. Notice how I can select the text here. I also have a custom function to fix that. So again, this is populated by our script, and it should be this one. And if I go to the URL, and here, I do have one more custom function. So I was going to kind of show this here, how you can add this in here. And CSS. So I have all these custom functions here, which just make this really easy when you're coding inside of FileMaker. So I wanted to disable the user from being able to select text. And so I'm just going to put this right in the middle of our CSS. Say okay, okay. And then we'll play that. So now I cannot select this at all. So really cool to be able to just throw that in there real easy. And then this is all CSS. This is actual checkboxes. It's the same exact checkboxes we use up here. So it's the same checkbox element. But we're just using a bunch of CSS to customize it, to make this look however we want. So you can see I have an on hover that turns it gray. It also changes the cursor to a hand. And then I can select it. So go back into here. So you can see here I've mapped the two different checkboxes to different fields. And yeah, it's got all the CSS here for the container. So this is styling the container. It's got little notes in here. Oh, sorry. It's got notes in here to explain what each of these sections are, what it does. So check mark when checked, how you want it to look when it's checked, when it's not checked. It's got the colors here, so change the color of it. So it's using a table to create all of this. So here it's table heading. It's not really using that. I can delete that. So the table row, the column widths, and then the text, hyperlink text. So yeah, so if I want to add another checkbox, I can simply copy this and come down here, and I can just paste that in there. And we'll say that's the third one. We can map this to a third field even, and change our tooltip. So this is our tooltip text, and then our label on our checkbox, or for our checkbox. And then here it says the function that it wants to call when you change it, when you change the actual text box. So input, it's using an input tag with the type checkbox. So it is the same exact checkbox that we use in the other demonstration, but we're just using the style here to just customize it. And then it's got a style here as well. Actually, I don't even know if that's needed. I think all I need is the no, we do need this. Sorry. I'm just thinking about the code. It's a lot to think about to keep all this in your head.
Yes, while live and presenting.
As you can imagine. So yeah, we just added the third checkbox. So we have our checkbox here, field 3. In order to save this, I need to be able to add a third field. So I'm just going to copy this. We'll change this to 3. And we'll map it to field 3. And we'll save this. And run it. And now we have our new checkbox. So you can see it has a tooltip, checkbox 3. It's got the label for checkbox 3, which we changed. And so this is going to toggle the exact same field up here. If I zoom out, you can see them both. So I believe it's that one. Okay. I'm not sure what that's changing then. Oh, there, it did it. There's checked. I don't know why this needed to be on the layout, but now you can see it. So now it's updating up here as well. So, it will update if you. So the reason it wasn't updating is because if I go into here, I do Control A, copy, and then we'll just disable this for a moment. Save. Come back over here. So now we have this empty web viewer. I'm just going to paste this in here. And now, when I toggle this, okay, I thought for sure that would. Okay, you can see everything else is updating. I'm not sure why this isn't updating, because that should be reevaluating every time the dependency changes. It should reevaluate when this. Oh, undo. So yeah, I'm trying to map it so that way when this changes, it'll reevaluate all of this code and reload the web viewer, which should mark it as checked. So yeah, I can play around with that and have it load with it, showing the actual current status. Because now it's that's what's going on. It's because it's reevaluating it, but because when it rebuilds the code, this doesn't say checked. So I have to do like a script trigger to update the code here, so that way it checks that checkbox. All right, well, I think that's it.
Seriously, Kyle, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely a lot to take in. So some really cool tricks. I would love if somebody could maybe work on this for me to make this say Sunday, Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, change the orientation. I don't know if anybody has the time to play around with that, but that would be cool. Instead of saying Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's one improvement I want to try to make. Another thing I wanted to try to figure out is this, if I leave it, it doesn't go away unless I go into it and press enter. So there's just a couple things I want to improve on this. I would love it if somebody could maybe help me out figure that out. I'm sure there's an event listener or something we can do there. But yeah, so it's really cool to be able to come on here, share this with the community, and get feedback from the community. And every once in a while, somebody will send me an email, say, "Hey, check this out. Figured it out for you." So then we can bring that back into the community and bring it back to this program, and to be able to show everybody the cool new things. So.
No, I think that'll be awesome. So, and it'll be great to have you tomorrow, of course. I'm going to say that we don't have any more questions, so I think we're good. Seriously, Kyle, thank you very much. You always bring these really cool files to our live stream, and you always show them off, then you share them because you're awesome. We greatly appreciate it. I think tomorrow will be very fun.
Yeah.
So I look forward to it. All right, everyone. Please come back for more Kyle magic. As Ruben says, you're a wizard. This is not inaccurate, the amount of live coding that Kyle did to us in front of today, and then troubleshoot it was pretty swell. So thank you very much. You all have a lovely, lovely day, and thank you again, Kyle. We greatly appreciate it. Boop, boop.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.